Hola amigos, welcome back to the show. Now let's continue on with part 2 of my Cinderella review. Now, where did we leave off? Oh yes, the fairy godmother appears and actually helps Cinderella out. And of course she sings that ever so catchy song, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, which would later be the inspiration for the wizard Bibbidi, his son Bobbidi, and then his son Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Buruzeto in Japan, Nippon. Yep, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo is like one of the catchiest songs in the history of Disney. That song will never get out of your head. Hell, regardless of how many times I tried to actually get that song out of my head. Anyway, back to the story. So, the fairy godmother turns the 4 mice into horses, the horse Major into a coachman, and the dog Bruno as the driver. And she also turned that pumpkin into a beautiful, elegant carriage. I tell you, that carriage is like the most glamorous carriage I've ever seen from a fairy tale. No doubt about it. 'Cause anything can happen in fairy tales. And I mean anything can happen in fairy tales. And of course, the most famous scene in the cartoon was the dress transformation. And I tell you, that dress transformation is like one of the most beautiful pieces of art in the history of Disney. Even Walter Elias Disney loved it as well, saying it's one of his favorite pieces of animation, and a very proud one. And yes, the dress does differ in both the 2015 and 1950 adaptations. The 2015 film just has her with the dress, with no black choker, no long gloves, and no tiara, and no earrings. At least the cartoon did that right. And of course, it's not Cinderella without those famous glass slippers, which has been used in countless adaptations, including the jet lag one from 1994, and the Burbank one from 1996. Even a couple of Japanese anime have dealt with the story. And even the HBO one from 1995. But the fairy godmother told Cinderella that she must leave the ball before midnight, because once the clock strikes midnight, the spell will be broken. Everything will be back to normal, the way it was before. And Cinderella understood every single word of dialogue her fairy godmother told her. And she was off to the ball. Over at the ball, Prince Charming was not very happy with all the eligible young ladies that wanted to dance with him. Until Cinderella showed up. And Prince Charming asked Cinderella if she could dance with him, and she greatly accepted. So that waltz that Cinderella and Prince Charming had is like the most beautiful waltz in the history of Walt Disney. Well, aside from that dance with Belle and the Beast from Die Schöne und das Biest from 1991. But that's for another video. And of course, Lady Tremaine was spying on them, not realizing that this mysterious girl was actually Cinderella the whole time. And of course, Cinderella had to leave the ball before midnight, or otherwise the spell will be broken. Thankfully, the glass slippers actually survived. Yep, she actually loses one of her glass slippers. Then the next day, the Duke was going from house to house, finding the girl whose foot fits into the glass slipper. And the mice were actually trying everything they could to get the key away from Lady Tremaine and actually get Cinderella out. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Lucifer is voiced by the late great June Foray, who I talked about like many times in my videos. June Foray was a wonderful, unique, talented voice actress, just like her male counterpart Mel Blanc and their successors Frank Welker and Mona Marshall. Anyway, back to the story. Lucifer obviously attacked them without any harm and tried to block them off. But thankfully, Bruno and Major were there to defeat Lucifer. And of course, Cinderella got out, and unfortunately, Lady Tremaine actually destroyed one of the glass slippers. Thankfully, Cinderella actually has the other slipper. And of course, the glass slipper actually fits her delicate foot. And then Cinderella and Prince Charming were married the following day. And I tell you, it is just a lovely ending to an already established and wonderful tale. And yes, the film originally came out in 1950. But the film actually took 2 years to complete, which was not long after World War II had ended. Okay, that should be enough for the video for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, comment. And as always, amigos, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, adios, and arrivederci.